Hello, it's Vincent here, and if you did not know, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, and I also played tons of Magic the Gathering back in the day when I was a wee lad. My dad actually paid a pro Magic the Gathering player to tutor me to play Magic professionally when I was only 10 years old. So I used to tour around the southeast area for different regionals and played a lot of games, and Final Fantasy is very, very important to me. I was raised on all of them. I have this cool Final Fantasy VII Buster Sword, and I have a whole collection of Final Fantasy stuff off camera. But anyways, this is a super exciting stuff. As someone who has not purchased anything from Magic since 2018, which I'll leave a link in the description below as to why that is, the answer will surprise you. You can check that out. But yeah, let's dive into this Final Fantasy crossover set because we have some new announcements and it's super cool. Alright, so we're checking out this article on Star City Games. There's tons of articles about this out all over the place. Essentially, there are going to be 4 new commander decks for Magic the Gathering. This one will be focused on Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy X, 6, and 14. I know that's out of numerical order, just bear with me. We have Cloud, Y'shtola, Titus. I know some people say Titus. I know that's the correct way to say it. Titus sounds dumb. I'm Team Titus. Let me know in the comments below if you're Team Titus or Team Titus. Team Titus people are the cool ones. And then we have, good old Terra here. So we have this awesome artwork of Cloud. He's going to be the front runner of the Final Fantasy VII deck, but of course it's going to have tons of characters from Final Fantasy VII. We should expect Tifa, Barrett, Red 13, all the cool guys. The first deck they have showing up here is Revival Trance, Final Fantasy VI. They have Terra in the lead here. Now there's an article breaking down that they were actually sort of on the fence about having Terra as the lead of this deck. They were considering Celeste instead, but they decided to go with Terra for this one. And also Final Fantasy VI apparently almost didn't get chosen. It was kind of a little bit more up for debate. 7 and 14 were kind of the easy shoe-ins for them, but 6 was one of the ones more for debate. But obviously we have her. And what's cool, what I love about this one is it's the Mardu strategy, so it's red, white, and black. And so you see Trance at the beginning of combat on your turn, mill 2 cards. Terra gains flying until end of turn. Whenever Terra deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2. When you do, return target creature card with power 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. The Revival Trance deck is led by Terra, the heroine of Final Fantasy 6. This Mardu deck focuses on graveyard synergies and reviving your fallen heroes. So for those familiar with Final Fantasy VI's story, it ties into that. So it obviously shows that a lot of love and care was put into this, and this theme of reviving your fallen heroes sort of based on the conflicts that happened in 6. And to have a whole deck themed around that, I think is awesome. So I think this one knocks it out of the park. I think that's super exciting to play, and I'm just really looking forward to this deck, if I'm being honest. Next up, we have Limit Break, which is your Final Fantasy VII deck. Limit Breaks are probably the most iconic sort of special abilities in a game. A lot of Final Fantasies have different ones. You have Overdrives, and I'm forgetting the other ones off the top of my head, but you get the idea. Now this one, we have Cloud here, who costs 5 mana. He's Naya colored, so we got red, green, and white here. 4/4. Haste. When Cloud enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to it. Whenever Cloud attacks, draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control. Then if Cloud has power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. So the whole theme around the Final Fantasy VII deck is having power 7 or greater, which I think is awesome. As a game designer, I personally love them tying the number 7 into Final Fantasy VII's deck. It's arguably the most iconic Final Fantasy game of all time. I know 14 is competing for that spot, but just to have that, I know that they talked about needing green in the color identity in order to care about the power 7 or greater, as very much a green thing, but the red and white is very much the equipment and combat going on here. Then we have the Final Fantasy X deck, which is Counter Blitz, which is a perfect name for this. This is Bant color, so we got green, white, and blue. And with this one, we have Titus, Una's Guardian. 3 for a 3/3, solid stats. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may move a counter from target creature you control onto a second target creature you control. And then there's Cheer. Whenever one or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and proliferate. Do this only once each turn. For those watching that don't know what proliferate is, essentially it says that you can take any amount of counters that are in play and add another counter of that same type to it. So if you have a +1/+1 counter, whenever you proliferate, you can add another +1/+1 counter. If you have a Planeswalker with a loyalty counter, you can add another loyalty counter. So the Final Fantasy X deck is based on adding counters to things, moving counters around, and counters giving your creatures abilities. They said that they were inspired by the Sphere system for leveling up in Final Fantasy X. Now, of course, this one has a little bit more of the Blitzball theme, which is the popular sport that Titus plays in the game and what he's known for. So they sort of tie that in as well, which is pretty fun. Honestly, this looks like a lot of fun as well. And then for Scions and Spellcraft, we got Final Fantasy 14, which is going to be our good old Esper colors. We got white, blue, and black. Now, you may have noticed that each of the 4 pre-con decks all have white in them. They didn't feel particularly limited in terms of having to choose a balance of all 5 colors for Magic. They wanted to give us the best Final Fantasy representation that they could, and so they have a lot of heroes in Final Fantasy, a lot of the characters that we all kind of rally behind, and so white was a very important color choice for them to choose because of that. And so they found the balances elsewhere. So with like the equipment, we have, you know, the red and the green with the powers matters. For Titus, we have the counters with green, blue, and this one is focused a lot more on spell crafting, spell mastery, things of that nature. For Y'shtola, we have a 4 cost for a 2/4 vigilance. At the beginning of each end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, you draw a card. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, Y'shtola deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. So essentially, a very spellcaster-based deck. So we kind of run the gambit here. We have like revival, graveyard shenanigans. We have big strong monsters equipment attacking power greater 7. We have moving counters around, combat synergies, and then we have spellcrafting. So honestly, I think they did a wonderful job with this. I sort of have every bias and reason to not like Wizards of the Coast. I because of you know, that link in the description. But you know, I like to give credit where credit's due. I think they're doing a great job with this. As an avid Final Fantasy fan, it's my favorite series of all time. I'm going to be very critical. I'm going to be very much a stickler for this because I know a lot about Magic. I know a lot about Final Fantasy. But just being completely honest with you, this looks really good. And, you know, I haven't agreed with all the decisions Wizards of the Coast have done. But this one, I heard that a lot of people on the team, which I have no problems with. I'm sure the game designers there are cool people. They are apparently fans of Final Fantasy, and I think that's very important. I hate when people get to work on properties and IP that they don't love, and I think that really shows. I think that if the Magic the Gathering game designers were not fans of Final Fantasy, I think these products would have turned out a lot differently. I think a lot of people would be upset, and I think people would have every reason to be upset because at that point you just have this multi-billion-dollar corporation gaining these IPs, using them just to try to milk people for money, and not doing it and not creating something that actually is shown with love. So a lot of times when you get things that are very corporate, it can feel too manufactured, and like people who actually are passionate about it actually love it. But that's not the case here. This looks amazing. Of course, we still got to see a lot more cards, a lot more spoilers. I believe we're getting more spoilers coming down the road very soon. I think next week is when we're getting a look at the card set. So tell me which of the 4 commander decks you're most looking forward to. I am actually a very much a 7 fan. Like 7's probably my favorite Final Fantasy, up there next to Tactics. But as far as the decks themselves go, I think that the Counter Blitz and the Revival Trance have me the most interested. I think gameplay-wise, those have the most interesting gameplay loop. And I actually think that Limit Break, although I love the name, I love Cloud, I think this one might be sort of the most boring deck for someone like me to play. I'm very much more of a black-white control, sometimes blue kind of player, and the Limit Break equipment thing seems a little counter to what I like to play, but it's good to have it in here, and I totally get where they're coming from on it. So I agree with their decisions I see so far, and hopefully these end up being a smash hit and doing really well, because I want Final Fantasy fans to really enjoy it. So yeah, let me know which deck you want to play, which one's your favorite, what do you want to see from this set, and if you haven't yet, be sure to jump into our Discord community because we talk games and anime, and check out our website for Vindicated Entertainment, where you can see all the games that I've designed and made, and you can check those out for yourself, because if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, if you're a fan of card games, we got lots of cool stuff for you. So check that out, take care, and stay awesome. Hey, what is up? If you are a fan of anime and tabletop games, then be sure to check out our card games, tabletop role-playing games, and even our manga. We have a lot of fun stuff over there for you to check out on our website, VindicateEntertainment.com. We even have a brand new tabletop role-playing game, Black Paper Moon. Check it out, and we'll see you there.